You've been under pressure, Capricorn. Not the kind that breaks you, the kind that reshapes you, the kind that doesn't ask politely, it commands evolution. And lately, it hasn't let up. Not because you're behind, but because you're being accelerated. This isn't stress. This is structure being born. You feel it in your bones. That pull to get leaner, sharper, more exact. It's not about control anymore. It's about command. Because the universe stopped testing your patience. Now it's testing your systems. And pressure doesn't mean panic. Not for you, not anymore. For others, it's chaos. For you, it's clarity. While they crack, you calibrate. While they spiral, you strategize. You've learned how to stop asking, why is this happening to me? And instead you ask, how can I extract value from this? May and June aren't light months. Pluto is retrograding through your sign. Mars is pushing discipline through your daily life. Jupiter is expanding your relationship with risk, value, and creation. Everything is tightening, refining, stripping you down not to punish, but to expose what's unshakable. You're not being broken. You're being chosen. And in that fire, you're finding something few ever access. The formula, the rhythm, the code that turns pressure into profit. You've stopped managing time like a resource. Now, you wield it like a weapon. Every hour isn't a slot, it's a lever. You squeeze intention out of every minute, and anything that doesn't produce power, it's cut. No apologies, no delay. You've also stopped fearing silence. You sit in it like a strategist. You study what rises. And lately, what's risen isn't fear, it's foresight. You're seeing patterns other people miss. Because you're not trying to be busy, you're trying to be right. And right, for you, means real. You've stopped chasing relief. You're after returns. Not the fast kind, the deep kind. The kind that can hold your future. Your body knows it too. It no longer wants stimulation, it craves systems. And so, you've built them. Not flashy, but flawless. Habits that pay. Boundaries that build. Decisions that don't just look good, they scale. There are moments now when things break. You feel the cracks, but you don't run. You record, you investigate, and instead of patching the surface, you reinforce the foundation. You no longer pretend breakdowns are failures. They're feedback, and your ability to adapt, that's your capital. You've also learned that discipline is currency, and you spend it well, not to impress, but to imprint. You know what works, and you do it again and again without fanfare. Because legacy doesn't need attention, it needs infrastructure. That's why you no longer feel behind. Because you've stopped measuring speed, you're tracking precision, and precision multiplies. This season isn't about what you're producing for others, it's about what you're proving to yourself. Not that you can work harder, but that you can work truer. There's a rhythm now, in how you show up, in how you recover, in how you move through the day with your eyes on the edge but your hands on the blueprint. The fire isn't flashy, it's focused. It's the kind that doesn't burn you out, it burns away the noise. And what's left behind? That's profit, not just money, but momentum, mastery, command. You're not building a business, you're becoming the structure that makes success inevitable. Not because it's easy, but because you've learned how to use tension like a tool. And every time it tightens, you sharpen, you simplify, you succeed. There's something else shifting now, something even deeper than your work. It's the way you define value, not in numbers, but in alignment, not in volume, but in vibration. You're starting to notice what drains you, not after it's too late, but in real time. You catch it in conversations that loop, in tasks that pretend to be urgent but deliver nothing. You feel it in spaces that feel too loud, too loose, too unanchored. And now, instead of tolerating those leaks, you seal them. Not out of bitterness, out of mastery, because energy is your new currency. And you finally stopped giving it away in hopes of being understood. You're not negotiating your standards anymore, you're enforcing them. And the more you enforce, the more space you make for the work that actually moves the dial. You're learning how to let your life shrink, not in power, but in noise. You don't need more right now, you need cleaner, tighter, truer. And that clarity? It's magnetic, to the right people, to the right ideas, to the right timing. You're no longer trying to fit into the algorithm of someone else's version of success. You're becoming your own operating system. The old you might have hesitated, you might have waited for perfect, but not anymore. Now you start where it's real. You begin before it's smooth. And every time you do, you get stronger, faster, sharper. Because momentum doesn't come from plans, it comes from proof. And you're done performing, now you're producing. Silently, ruthlessly, effectively. There's a fire in your schedule now, but it's not chaos. It's choice. Each yes is intentional. Each no is sacred. You don't fill space, you forge results. And here's what's most powerful. You've stopped asking how it looks. You ask how it lands. You measure outcomes by how deeply they hold, how long they sustain, how fully they respect your future. And the people around you, they're starting to notice. Not because you're louder, but because you're different. There's a stillness to your certainty now, like a mountain that doesn't move, but moves others. Even when things get loud, even when urgency tries to tempt you back into reactivity, you return to the plan, the structure, the vision. Not because you're stubborn, because you're sovereign. That's what the pressure taught you. That reaction is expensive. That clarity is cheap, but only if you choose it early. And you've started choosing faster, failing cleaner, recovering sharper. You don't need everyone to understand. You need yourself to execute. Because now, you trust your own math, you trust your own signals, you trust your own season. And most importantly, you've stopped rushing to fix what isn't yours to carry. That weight you dropped, that wasn't laziness, that was leadership. You're no longer holding everyone's expectations hostage inside your nervous system. You're building something better. Boundaries with results, structure with soul, ambition with direction. And if no one claps, you still climb. If no one watches, you still win. Because the profit you're creating now isn't just financial, it's foundational, it's psychological, it's spiritual. And this time, you won't spend it proving. You'll spend it building. In silence, with precision, with power. Because Capricorn, you don't just survive pressure. You harvest it, you scale it, you turn it into the kind of progress no algorithm can predict, but every empire requires. It's not just strategy anymore, it's instinct. You no longer need the map drawn out. You are the map. What used to feel like pressure now feels like pattern. Not because it got easier, but because you got honest. You stopped dressing the struggle up in productivity. You called it what it was, misalignment. And from that truth, you began. You restructured. Not just your routines, your beliefs, your standards, your tolerance for things that looked almost right. You've burned bridges, not out of rage, but out of reverence for the place you're building. And it's not isolation anymore, it's insulation. A sacred space between your focus and the world's noise. That's how you've started scaling. Not by chasing more, by cutting deeper, by clarifying so intensely that anything false falls away on contact. The weight is still here. The deadlines, the decisions, the stakes, but the drama is gone. Because you're no longer attached to how it looks. You're loyal to what it creates. And that loyalty, to the long game, it's rare. It's magnetic. It builds momentum while others burn out from seeking validation. You've learned how to let things die without announcing the funeral. You walk away quietly, with purpose, because you don't need everyone to agree. You need the architecture to hold. And when things fall apart, you don't chase them, you document them. You ask what the pattern reveals, where the error lives in the structure, what system needs to evolve so this doesn't repeat. You're no longer afraid of the fall. You respect it, you record it, and then you build smarter, wider, stronger. This is the evolution of your power. It's not loud, it's not urgent, it's exact. You've started choosing tension over ease. Not because you like struggle, because you understand what it gives you. Depth, density, durability. And while others play to be liked, you've started moving like someone who's already trusted. Trusted by yourself, trusted by the mission, trusted by time. That's why you no longer explain your boundaries. You embody them. And the moment someone crosses them, you don't flinch, you adjust, silently, permanently. Because it's not about being nice anymore. It's about being in position. And that position, it's earned. Not just through effort, but through emotional accuracy. You've cleaned up what you tolerate. You've stopped apologizing for being discerning. You've stopped calling your sensitivity too much when really it was guidance. And when the pressure rises again, as it will, you won't run. You'll reorganize. You'll recall what it taught you last time. You'll remember who cracked and who recalibrated. Because you are not breakable anymore. You're engineered. Not for comfort, for continuation, for command. You're not reacting to life, you're leading it. By how you show up, by how you say no, by how you move when nobody's watching, especially then. And it's working. Even if the results aren't loud yet. You feel it. In your chest, in your schedule, in your sleep. Something is more stable now, less desperate, more designed. And when people ask what changed, you won't need to explain. They'll feel it. In how you speak, in what you don't tolerate, in the way your energy no longer negotiates with things that feel off. This is what happens when pressure isn't just endured, it's studied, it's integrated, it's monetized. And Capricorn, you're not just here to survive systems. You're here to become one. There's a version of you now that's unbothered by noise, not because it never stings, but because it no longer decides. You've divorced your progress from permission. You no longer wait for others to catch up emotionally before you move structurally. The path ahead isn't always clear, but your decision to walk it, that's unwavering. Because you've learned something most never do. You don't need to feel ready to be aligned. You don't need applause to keep building. You don't need momentum to take the next step. You just need rhythm. And rhythm, Capricorn, is your inheritance. You build when others doubt. You move when others pause. You adjust when others collapse. That's the quiet skill no one sees. The micro recalibrations, the reordering of your calendar after a hard day, the internal shift when the outside doesn't match your vision, the way you recommit in silence, not because it's trendy, but because it's true. The world may never clap for how you do it, but it will yield to the results, because something has changed in the way you respond. Not faster, cleaner, more precise, more sacred. The pressure now? It doesn't provoke panic. It provokes pattern recognition. Where's the break? Where's the blind spot? Where does this feeling originate? And how can I convert it? You've stopped absorbing emotion and calling it intuition. Now you scan it, code it, use it. Even your doubt is different now. It doesn't derail you, it distills you, sharpens the question, clarifies the commitment, turns the fear into fuel. And when things go quiet again, as they will, you won't mistake the stillness for stagnation. You'll know it as your edge, the place you pause before the next level unfolds, the breath between builds, the silence between signals. Because pressure doesn't scream, it whispers. And you've trained yourself to hear it. That's what most won't understand about you. They'll see the calm, the cool execution, the reserved energy, but they won't see the recalibration underneath, the chess match, the mental war room, the blueprint redrawn in real time. And maybe they're not meant to. Because legacy doesn't need spectators. It needs sacred silence. It needs space. It needs protection. You've become the kind of leader who doesn't demand loyalty. You command it through consistency. Through the way you show up even when it's unsexy. Even when it's unseen. Even when it feels unrewarded. Because now you understand, delayed isn't denied. Quiet isn't quitting. And the fact that it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not inevitable. You've stopped using results to validate your worth, and you've started using your standards to predict them. Because pressure, for you, is no longer an interruption. It's a calibration tool. It tests the shape of your systems, the strength of your belief, the stretch of your timeline. And you don't flinch anymore when those things get tested. You adapt, quickly, precisely, with purpose. Because this isn't about proving anymore. It's about preparing for what you know is coming. For the weight you're meant to carry, for the structure you're about to step into. You don't need anyone else to see it. You see it, and you're building like someone who plans to stay. Not flash, stay, not trend, thrive. You've stepped out of survival. You're in strategy now, and it's only a matter of time before that structure becomes visible to everyone else. But even if they never see it, you'll know, because you'll be living inside it. And that's the profit. You've walked through fire so quietly, the world assumed you were untouched. But they didn't see what changed in you. They didn't hear the gears shifting, the walls you rebuilt in silence, the dreams you restructured without ceremony. Because it wasn't about being seen. It was about becoming solid. You used to crave confirmation. Now you crave clarity. You used to want the win. Now you want the system that makes the win repeatable. That's what pressure taught you. Not how to push harder, but how to build smarter. And the more pressure life gives you, the more infrastructure you create. Around your boundaries, around your peace, around your process. You no longer perform strength. You embody it, quiet, certain, in your bones. And this is what the world doesn't understand. Capricorn doesn't break. Capricorn builds in the middle of the storm, under the weight of expectation, while carrying everyone else's doubt. Because you've realized something sacred. You were never meant to escape the pressure. You were meant to become fluent in it, to turn it into data, into fuel, into profit. Others melt, you multiply. You've stopped asking the world for a path. You lay stone while others scroll. You take the hit, then codify the lesson. You keep moving while others wait for signs. Because now you are the sign. The evidence that pressure, when processed with precision, doesn't crush. It creates. You are the evidence. That grit without drama is still powerful. That structure is spiritual. That wealth can be quiet, slow, intentional, and still unstoppable. You no longer need to rush, because you know what's coming. You're building like someone who's already seen the ending. And it's not a wish, it's a blueprint. You've stopped building for applause, you're building for endurance. For the version of you who will one day walk inside this reality and think, I remember when this was pressure. You don't need fireworks to mark the moment. This is your fireworks. The feeling of alignment deep in your gut. The stability in your spine when you speak your boundaries. The knowing in your chest that you don't owe anyone a performance, just results. And Capricorn, you've earned them, not by being louder, but by being unshakable, by being consistent when no one clapped, by staying late when no one noticed, by rising again when no one knew you fell. That's profit. That's legacy. That's what pressure gave you. And no one can take it now. So take a breath. And remember this. You are no longer chasing power. You are the power. You are the one who holds the line, who does the thing without needing to be asked, who sets the standard without explaining it. And when the world gets loud again, because it will, come back to this rhythm, this truth, this clarity. You are not confused. You are constructing. You are not behind. You are beneath, laying the foundation for something no one can shake because you didn't just endure the pressure. You became the structure that absorbs it, transmutes it, and profits from it. This isn't a moment, it's a movement. You are not in the middle of a breakdown. You're standing inside a blueprint, and the more you honor it, the more it builds. Within you, through you, for generations after you. So say it, out loud or in your chest. I don't need ease. I build from pressure. I don't need noise. I build in silence. I don't need to be chosen. I already chose myself. Let that be your bottom line. Let that be your profit. Let that be your power. Because Capricorn, you don't just survive pressure, you make it pay you back.